Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you everyone for joining today's live course hosted by the Sikh Research Institute. My name is Manvinder Kaur and I am the webinar coordinator here at SIKRI. This presentation will begin now. If for any reason I'm just going to guide everyone in how they can ask questions. So if you would just be patient with me for a second. Here we are. So if for any reason you lose your internet connection or have to restart your computer during the session, then you can rejoin by clicking on the URL that is included in your original registration confirmation email. Before we get started, I want to review a few important things and let you know how you can participate in today's web event. So how do you interact? You can send your question by typing it into the questions panel outlined here. You can send the questions to us while the session is in progress. However, they will be answered at the discretion of the instructor. As a reminder, today's live class is being recorded and it'll be available on SIKRI's YouTube channel within 24 hours. If for any reason you lose your internet connection or have to restart, again, you can rejoin by clicking the URL that is included in your original registration email. Before I introduce you to the instructor, I will begin with some background on the Institute and today's class. The Sikh Research Institute's mission is to provide educational resources to Sikhs to lead a Guru-inspired life. As a global nonprofit organization, we produce original online courses, research papers, videos, podcasts, events, and books to create the largest go-to source of Sikh knowledge online. Today's class is a part of a live series, Anand Sahib, Way to Bliss. Anand Sahib holds a very special place in Sikh tradition as it is sung in almost every congregational setup. Revealed to Guru Amardas Sahib, the bani essentially details the human quest for bliss and the lifestyle that is necessary for leading a blissful life. The beauty and significance of Anand Sahib can be gauged from the fact that it dwells on a variety of ideas and principles that are central to Sikh thought. This class will begin with a 40-minute lecture, followed by 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A. So please drop your questions in the chat box and make sure you include your name and your city when you are asking your question. Surinder Pal Singh is our instructor today. He is a researcher in Sikh studies. He works at the Sikh Research Institute, where he develops curriculum, presentations, and research papers on Sikh history and culture. He is the lead instructor of the Gurbani 101 track at Siddiq, an annual leadership program by SIKRI, the co-author of the Gurbani linguistics book, Guru Granth Sahib, Its Language and Grammar. He has over 10 years of experience in teaching Gurbani linguistics and 20 years of experience in teaching Sikh theology and culture. He received his Master of Arts in English and Religious Studies. Please welcome Surinder Pal Singh.
Thank you, Manvinder. Can you see the slide now? All right. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the first live session of the 20-week online series of Anand Sahib course. I'm Surinder Pal Singh, and I work for Sikh Research Institute as a researcher and content facilitator. And I'll be the facilitator for the next 20 sessions of this course. So we will start with the brief introduction of the Bani. So Anand Sahib has been revealed to the third Nanak, Guru Amardas Sahib, and it is listed on page number 917 through 922 of the Granth Sahib. The Bani basically falls under the category of what is commonly known as Lambiya Baniya, long compositions in the Sikh tradition. The Banis like Japji Sahib, Sukhmani Sahib, Siddh Ghost, and all those. So it's one of those Lambiya Baniya, long Banis. It has no house line, the refrain line, which occurs, which usually has the central idea or central theme of the sabbath. But it's like it's composed of, it constitutes of 40 bodies, stanzas, straight ones, which basically move in a sequence of ideas one by one with no particular emphasis on any one. So the musical measure or mode or rag, whatever you call it, is Ramkali, which is a morning rag, and that is sung in the first pahar, first quarter of the morning after the sunrise. We'll go into the details of the rag in the later slides. Uh, the bani of the language of the bani primarily seems to be old style Punjabi with certain influences of Sadhukari style in between here and there. So next we discuss the history of the Bani, its revelation. So, by Khan Singh Nabha dates the revelation of Nand Sahib to somewhat 1611, which is approximately 1554. Whereas by Veer Singh dates it at 1560 AD. Now, there are a few textual sources that tell us pretty much similar story of how the Bani was revealed. But there's only minor difference in here and there. So I'll just give you a broader outline of that Saki. So the two major sources that describe or narrate that Saki is Mehma Prakash by Surubdas Palla, and then the other one is Gur Pratap Surajkanth by Kavi Santokh Singh, one of the major textual sources, Sikh sources. So the story goes that there was a yogi who was very disillusioned, disappointed, despite of his long years of penances, hard yogic practices. And then in his disillusionment, when he heard of Guru Amardas Sahib, he basically approached the Guru, went to the Guru, and he asked for that permanent peace and bliss. And he told him, how everything has, the peace, ultimate peace has eluded him despite of so many, efforts over the years. So Guru Amardas Sahib told him to, go back and then come back and, take birth in his family. And that's when he will actually tell him to actually how to achieve that, happiness in life. So the yogi went back, and soon after he died, and it is the Saki says that he was born to the house of Guru Amardas Sahib as his grandson. Guru Amardas Sahib had two sons. One was Baba Mohan, which is renowned name in Sikh tradition because of his name being attached to compilation. So there are so many stories in Sikh tradition uh, which do not conform to the Gurmukh principles, but still they are, just like this one. So the younger one of the two sons was Baba Mohri. His son, which was Guru Amardas Sahib's grandson, that's when he was born, that's when Guru Amardas Sahib is said to have revealed that Bani. So the Saki says that Yogi took birth, came into the house of Guru Amardas Sahib as that boy. So Saki says that's when Guru Amardas Sahib basically took that child into his lap and revealed that Bani. But if you notice how the story is building, something seems off with it. If you look at it from a Gurmat perspective. So there's another way Pai Veer Singh has narrated the story, which I like more. And he says that, when Anand, the name of the child was also Anand. So when Anand was born, Sangat came congratulating the Guru and saying, Anand, Anand, celebrate, congratulations. And that's when, Guru Amardas Sahib addressed the Sangat and informed that, this is not Anand. The real Anand, I'll tell you how real Anand is achieved. And that's when Guru Amardas Sahib revealed that Bani. So that's the brief history of the Bani. Next, we discuss the origin of the word and what it means in very briefly. So, word, as you can guess, the word is pretty simple, and it is still used in vernaculars with a similar meaning. And it comes from Now, two words, ang plus nadi, which means to be happy, to be in the state of ang, happiness. And it has multiple meanings: happiness, excitement, zeal, different connotations, fervor. But within the Sikh tradition, it's used to mean specifically bliss, even though, words cannot be really translated exactly across different languages and cultures, but that's the best we can, arrive at. So bliss within the Sikh tradition. Now, bliss, Anand word comes primarily in two different forms. One is Anand and Anand, either with Namkar or without it. And it uh, it is also used to refer to the divine itself, who is the embodiment of Anand and who is the bestower of that bliss, that feeling of Anand. All right. Next, we discuss the title briefly before we actually start the Bani. The title of the Bani says Ramkali Mala Tija Anand Oankar Satigur Prasad. Now, the title has four components in it. The first one, Ramkali, designates a musical measure or mode in which the Bani is revealed and is to be sung. Now, the Bani is in Rag Ramkali, which is early morning Rag, as I just mentioned, and it is sung after the sunrise and roughly between the period of 6 to 9 a.m. depending on the season. So if it's winter, sun rises late, so that period will be later. But if it's summer, that period arrives early. So the first quarter of the morning. The rag is believed to have, a changeable mood swing. It swings between devotion and yearning, and it is full of energy and spiritedness. So Guru Amardas Sahib basically uses this rag to to express, the myriad moods and mood swings, to put forth questions related to the human quest for bliss. The Bani traverses through, different shades of human tendencies to show how, the mind wavers from one extreme to the other. And it also utilizes this mood swing to introduce a bunch of ideas, messages, and principles in the Bani that we will discuss as we go along with the Bani. So I find this rag really interesting. It's a very dynamic in nature in the sense that it employs a whole lot of keys, notes in it. There are flat notes, there are sharp notes, and then there are normal notes, and the way they are put together just makes the I'm not a I'm not I don't understand music that well, but what my understanding is based on that, I'll just give you a small uh, portion of how it flows, both in its ascending and descending scale. So it goes something like sa sa ga ma pa dha ni sa sa ni dha pa ma pa dha ni da pa ga ma re sa. So that's the ascending and the descending scale of the rag. It's quite dynamic as I feel it because it includes a lot of notes, and that speaks for why probably Guru chose to use it to accommodate so many different ideas within the Bani. So we'll look at it as we move through the Bani. Next, we have Mahala Tija. The pronunciation of the numeral is Tija and not three because it's not cardinal. It tells you the order. So it's third. So the pronunciation would be Tija. There are different opinions on the etymology and the meaning of the word, but two major ones are, some scholars believe that this word is a derivative of Arabic word halul, which means the place of, alighting, the place where something has descended. So the idea is the Guru person through whom the Bani descended. So in that sense, Mahala is used in that sense. The other school says that Mahala comes from Sanskrit Mahala, which simply means body. But in both the cases, the idea is that that guru person or that guru body through whom bani descended or was revealed. So here Mahla Tija basically indicates that it is the third Nanak, third form of Nanak, third Jot of Nanak, Guru Amardas Sahib, who revealed the Bani to us. And the next is Anand, the title of the Bani. We have already covered its meaning in the previous slide, which means happiness, excitement, zeal, or fervor in general, but bliss specifically in Sikh context. Uh, Fourth component of this title is the salutation or the invocation, Ik Onkar Satigur Prasad, uh, that is found in the beginning of every major Bani or opening of a new rag section or even sometimes sabads. So I've listed the literal meaning of the words based on how you dissect. You can derive multiple interpretations of invocation. The most standard one is, one universal, all-pervasive, supreme being who is truth or, truth personified, one who can only be realized through the grace of the eternal Guru, true Guru, or Guru's wisdom, which is Sabad in our case. So, this word, when Guru Granth Sahib opens with Mool Mantra, this word appears in Japji Sahib, the very first sloka. And it says there, it actually beautifully describes, in a way, it defines what such is for us. So such has been, people have described it in so many different philosophical ways. But in Gurbani's context, the sloka of Japji Sahib clearly, indicates what such means to us in our context. It says, Satnam, something, Adi Sach, Jugadi Sach, Happy Sach, Nanak Hosi Bi Sach, something which has been true or which has existed even before the times. It existed when the times started. It exists now, and it will exist even when everything has disappeared or been destroyed. So that's the idea. That's how such has been defined in Gurbani. That's why such is specifically used for the divine being itself. For instance, right now it's day and it's a truth. But then in another 6 to 8 hours, there will be no day. It will be night. So that truth has disappeared. So something which is not constant, which is not ever existent, which is not everlasting, cannot be the real truth, the absolute truth. So in Gurbani, truth is used in that context. The absolute truth, which is eternal, ever existing all the time, beyond the scope of time. All right, next we move on to the first body. With that, we start our Bharat. So let's see what does the Bani say. The first line says, Anand Paya Meri Mai Sati Guru Mein Paye. Oh mother, Meri Mai, Anand Paya, bliss happened to me. Just look at the way, the vocabulary has been used here. It happened to me. And how did it happen? It happened when I found the true Guru, Sati Guru, the eternal Guru, the eternal wisdom. When I met, when I encountered, when I experienced that, that's when that's when bliss happened to me. Bliss didn't come by, any other source. It happened only when I met Satguru. Satguru mein paya. I met the Guru, I encountered the Guru, and that's when bliss happened to me, intuitively. It's a pretty clear statement telling us, that the bliss was found, and it qualifies that by saying that it was found through the Guru, through the true Guru. Now, even though the first line introduces the larger theme of the Bani, that is Anand, but the theme of the first line, as you notice, is the source of that Anand. It explains to us where does one find, Anand, which has been answered in the first line itself, and it is the Sadguru. Next, Sadgurta Paya Sahaj Seti Mani Vajya Vadaya. In the following lines, the Guru basically elaborates on the source of bliss, telling that the Guru, the source of bliss, was found in Sahaj, equipoise. And as a result of that, the mind was in celebration mode. So before we actually proceed further, I have two important words to introduce here, vocabulary words. One is Sahaj. The other one, comes in the fourth line, Hari. Sabdota Gava Hari Kera. So let's take a brief look at it because they're very interesting and recurring in Gurbani, and it really helps to understand them. If we know these words, it just helps us have a better understanding of what the Guru is trying to explain to us. So, uh, you know, now this simple word Sahaj is very rich and has loaded connotations within the Sikh tradition. It means a lot of things like, naturally, innately, intuitively, slowly, without effort. But loosely put, it is a natural state of being where you are what you are, which means that if you are saying that you found bliss in Sahaj, it means that you did not put forced effort into it, that it came to you naturally, that there is no sort of pretense involved in it. It happened because you were in that state. So if you notice how, even the word Sahaj, because of how loaded this is, it has been used in so many different ways within the Guru Sahib. A natural state of being. Maya which Sahaj na upajai, Maya duja pai. In Maya, intuitive poise is not achieved because Maya is other love. It's the sign of other love. It means when you are engaged in it, you are in other love. You're not truly in love of the Guru. So you're basically pretending. That's the idea. Then Sahaj is also used to convey the idea of easiness without effort. Nanak Sahaj paye gun gaye. Nanak sing praises with intuitive poise and love. And the third major way, there are other ways too, but three major ones I'm just listing here. Slowly and steadily. One of the most commonly heard, lines is Sahaj bilo bahu, jaise tat na jai. Churn slowly and steadily so that the essence of the thing, is not lost. So that's how. But the idea here is that when you uh, Sadgurta paya sahaj seti. When you meet Sadguru and Sahaj, it means that there's no pretense involved. You're not pretending to be something else. You've submitted to the Guru, and that's when that Anand bliss comes. When you do exactly the Guru tells you to do. You're not pretending. So when that becomes your first nature, your second nature, you do things intuitively. That's when you truly have met or met the met Guru or you achieved that union with the Guru, and that's only when you actually you know achieve that bliss. So it says, you know, so if I have to further elaborate this idea, how we have moments of truth in life when we are very humble, calm, truthful, feel great or content for certain reasons or certain short term efforts because of what we are doing, what we are practicing. But then the next moment, that great feeling is gone. The permanent peace, eludes us. And the good feelings come and go. They don't stick around. And which basically means that, we are trying to achieve something that is not our natural state of being. It is not in our nature. We just trying to pretend it. That's when this thing happens. So the point is, when we are in Sahaj, it is that we're not pretending. We are not basically acting. We are following. We believe in what the Guru says and we follow it. That's when we practice it. When you practice that thing becomes you. You become that thing. And that's when Sahaj comes. That's when the idea of that is when we truly met the Guru, and that's when the bliss comes. So to me, the line is saying that I've found bliss, but since I have developed such a close, indispensable, loving relationship with Guru, that it cannot be forsaken or broken, even for a moment. It's not transactional in nature, where I connect to the Guru only because I want something material, but because I am in love, I am full of longing and yearning for the Guru because Sabad is very pleasing to me. That's when Sadgurta Paya Sahaj Siti means I found or I met Guru naturally. So next line says Rag Ratan Parvar Pariya Sabad Gaun Aiya. Now this line is a bit tricky. It employs metaphors to evoke a certain feeling or effect that qualifies the above statement. It's picturing a state of mind which is a result of the previous statement, the celebration, vajiyan vadaiyan idea. The mind is in celebration mode, and it feels like the jeweled melodies, rag ratan, and their partners, parivar, family, have come together to sing the Guru's Sabbath. That's how most of the interpreters have, translated this line. But there's another way to, look at this line. Uh, a rag, which is used for, musical measures or mode, is directly related to another word used in Guru Granth Sahib, Bairag, which basically means being, detached from the pull of or the love of material things. So Ba is a negation of rag. That is something, someone who lives above and beyond the influence of hopes and desires. So rag is that sense, in that sense, is means hopes, desires, notions, aspirations of our mind. That is how I think the word is used in the musical sense as well. Something that evokes certain moods, certain ideas, certain aspirations in us when certain notes in combination are played together, and that make a melody. So the other perspective is that, all my hopes, my desires in their most pristine and untouched sacred form, with all their related aspirations, you know, submit to or surrender to the Guru. Sabad Gaunaya. Or my aspirations come and they surrender to the Guru's feet. They come and they sing. They are now, since they are in Sahaj, they surrender to the feet of the Guru. They are at the feet of the Guru and they sing, they rejoice, they enjoy, they are in bliss just for being connected with the Sabbath. So that's another way how I look at this line. Okay, so the next line says Sabdo ta gavahu hari kera man jini usaya. That this one re-emphasizes the suggestion above of singing the divine Sabbath. In this case, it associates it with the divine name Hari. So you notice how first line introduces an idea, and then that idea is explained. And then if you notice in this body, the last line again repeats the same idea to emphasize that. But in this case, it says, Sabdota Gavo Hari Kera Manjani Vasaya. Now, in the first line, Sabad is associated with the Guru. In this line, Sabad is associated with Hari, the divine. So that tells you how there is actually no clear demarcation between the Guru person and the divinity. So the idea that wisdom is divine Guru, there's no difference between the Guru and Vahaguru, divine, and the Guru in Sikh tradition. It's only notional. So before I actually go and further explain this line, the other vocabulary word was actually Hari. This is actually the most used word in Guru Granth Sahib, recurring word. It's a synonym for Hari, divine, and it comes from word stem Hri, Hri. Rara pair which hai, it's a subscript, so there's no a silent there, mukta. It's pronounced as Hri. It basically means to take away, to eliminate. So the context is of someone who takes away your or overcomes your transgressions, helps you get rid of your transgressions, your vices, quote unquote, your shortcomings, your pains. So that's how Hari is used in Indic tradition to refer to the divine. Now Hari in the Sanatan tradition has been widely used it means a lot of things actually, as you notice on the screen here. It means it represents three, four colors: yellow, green, brown, and it also actually represents a host of animals used for so many different animals in the Sanatan tradition. And then it also means people in general. But within the Sanatan tradition specifically, it's used for primarily Vishnu, the preserver of the one of the three major gods in Hindu tradition. First one is, Brahma, the one who has created the creation as per their belief. Vishnu is the one who preserves, and then there's Mahesh, who's also called Shiv, the one who destroys. So there are three major ones, but primary. So it's used for all the three, but primarily for Vishnu. Vishnu is a major figure in the Hindu uh, tradition, Hindu mythology. And you'll notice, the Ram and Krishna you've heard of, they are basically the incarnations of Vishnu. So Vishnu has taken multiple forms, incarnations. And there is a book called Vishnu Sahasranama, which lists all the names of Vishnu based on his incarnations, births. And Hari happens to be, one of those. So that's where it's coming from. But the idea behind the word is someone who basically relieves you of all whatever that pain is, pain of separation, pain of corruption, transgressions, your shortcomings, whatever that is. The one who relieves you of that. So that's how this word is used in Guru. So coming back to the line, it says Sabdota Gavahu Hari Kera Manjani Usaya. Sing the sabad of that Hari, the one who basically takes away all your pains. Sing that. And Kaha Nanak Anand Hua Sati Guru Mein Paya. Says Nanak re-emphasizes the idea that Anand happened, Anand came to me, I experienced Anand when I met the Guru. Sati Guru Mein Paya. All right, next we uh, discuss what are the lessons that we learned from uh, this body. That bliss is something, in daily life, if I, eat something tasty, I'll say, wow, maja aa gaya, anand aa gaya. We so casually use certain, vocabulary in our daily life. That's why gurus, and also food, our relationship, or anything, around us, material world, we engage with them and we feel those, I was talking about the temporary feeling of happiness. We had encountered that, we experienced that when we engage with those things. But that permanent bliss eludes us because it's that happiness is coming from our engagement to temporary things, not necessarily our engagement with the divine wisdom. So if we are feeling low, that's probably Guru says that. That's probably because I am not connected to the divine wisdom. Once I develop that, relationship with the divine, that connection, bliss will happen to me. So bliss is only in connection with the Guru, not with anything else, because everything else is temporary. And happiness arising from other engagements is basically temporary. The Guru can only be found, and the second thing is that Guru cannot be found, can be met through pretense, through acting. You have to walk on the Guru's instructions, and you can only achieve that bliss in equipoise when it becomes your second nature, what Guru says. All right, with that, we'll move to the second slide, second body, sorry. It says, as I was mentioning, you'll notice this pattern. "ए मन मेरेया तू सदा रहो हरि नाले." "कहा नानक मन मेरे." In the last line, it says, "Tu sada raho हरि नाले." The first line introduces an idea. Next lines explain that. And the last line again re-emphasizes the idea to leave you with that idea, that take this idea with you. Don't forget it. How beautiful that is. I find it really beautiful. Okay, so it says, "E man mereya tu sada rahu harinale." Oh my mind, always remain with the Hari, reliever. Hari, the one who takes away all your pains, negativities, corrupt tendencies. Hari naal, Hari naale rahu tu man mere. again re-emphasizes the idea, repeats it in a different way. Stay with the divine. Man mere, oh my mind, dukh sap visarna, who takes away all the suffering. Notice how the second line itself elaborates the word choice of Hari for the divine in the first place, in the first line as well. So what does Sada Raho Harinale means in the first line and Harinal Raho in the second line mean? It means to stay in constant awareness of, in remembrance of the divine, to accept and believe that the divine is present everywhere, in everything, and is with you as well all the time. And how do you do that? Through the Guru Sabad. That's how you stay Harinale, Sada Harinale, by staying connected with the Guru Sabad, reciting Guru Sabad. That's how you actually, when you constantly engage with the Guru, that's how you become that and you achieve that stage. And there's no pretense there. Okay, Angikar who kare tera karaj sapisvarna. The divine endorses your affairs. Word Angikar here is a combination of two words. Angi plus kar. Word stem ang. Ang basically means a part of the body, and it's used to mean that ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ when we say ਅੰਗ ਲਾ ਲਿਆ ਆਪਣੇ, basically the idea that I accepted someone, I embraced someone. This idea is this cozy, this beautiful, intimate idea appears in Gurbani multiple times. So that's the idea that once you engage with the Sabad, Angikar Ohu, that divine Kare Tera, what does, embraces what, endorses what, courage, your tasks. So the divine endorses your affairs, and all tasks are taken care of. Courage, sapasvarna, are taken care of. One way to look at it is that all worldly tasks are taken care of, but the question arises: if your hope and desires have submitted to the Guru and Guru Sabad, and there is no worldly desire left, what possibly could be those tasks? And the task of keeping, so to me it means, other than that, keep engaged with the Guru, the goal of achieving that bliss. Probably it's pointing to that as well. So Sapna Gala Samrathu Swami, so kyu Manoha Visari. Swami, the master, is Samrat, capable of what? Sapna Gala. Everything you can think of, all tasks, everything, which means everything possible that you can think of. So kyu mano visare, then why forsake that Hari from your mind, who is basically all capable, who can take care of everything? So the only solution that you need in life, Guru Sahib is saying, is Hari. Engage with it, with Hari, develop a relationship with Hari through Sabad, and your affairs will be taken care of. Kah Nanak, man mere sada rahu Hari Nanak. Nanak says, man mere, oh my mind, always stay in the presence of the divine who alleviates all suffering. So when you do that, all your sufferings go away. And that's how you take steps. Like we have bodies here. Bodies literally actually mean rungs of the ladder. That's how you climb that ladder and you reach or you achieve your goal. That's how these bodies will keep moving forward and take us to our ultimate goal. That's how this bani will work. So the lesson that we learn from this bani is, and this body, sorry, particularly, is that stop worrying about your affairs and connect with the divine, the one who is capable of everything. Your job is to stay in awareness of the divine existence, and it will your job is to stay connected to the divine, and then the rest of your things will be taken care of. And as far as your business is concerned, it will be resolved by its own, based as we just discussed that. So with that, we actually finish our second body, and our two bodies that we were supposed to cover in this session. So every week we will be covering two bodies each. By the time we reach our 20th week, we'll be finishing our bond. So with that, I finish my session, and we are now open to uh, questions, if there are any. Manvinder?
Yes, Surinder, if you want to head to the chat box in the Q&A section, there should be some questions that I've published there.
Yeah, I'll go through them.
Okay.
Be patient, bear with me. I just need to locate this because there are general messages in it as well.
Actually, so next to the chat, there's something that says Q&A, so all the questions should be there.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
No problem. And then in the published is where all the questions should be.
So the first question is actually related to the articulation of word Hari and how Gurbani should be pronounced. And this is a discussion that's never ending, but I'll just attempt it once. So Virji, the nature of Gurmukhi script is a phonetic. So the thing is that it's phonetic in nature. You have to pronounce every onkar, sihari, every vowel that appears in the Gurbani. That's how most of the South Asian languages actually work, and they actually serve a grammatical function. If you go to some of the old denominational, Sampradaya styles of learning, Santhya doing pronunciation, its articulation, you'll notice that they actually do that. But for some reason, when Granthis, people do that in public, they give that thing away. And either because of pressure or whatever, this has become the norm. So that's how most of the people do that. But what I've learned is, in my personal experience, whatever little I've learned, that you have to pronounce all the ending vowels attached to the word. So the way ideally it would be. Okay, so I think questions are piling up. Yes, Sihari, I got your question. Satiguru, teaching of the Guru in this context. Some of the questions are a little cryptic, not complete, so I'll just skip and I'll go to the ones. What did Guru Amardas Ji mean when he said that he met the Guru? Did he mean him meeting Guru Angad Sahib? No, the idea I think here is that Guru Sahib is talking about the wisdom, the sabad that is within the Guru at that time. You know how at that moment the Jyot and the Jugat were together within the Guru's being, Guru person. So here when the Guru says, I've met the Guru basically means the word in the tradition, Gurbani. So Guru is saying that I found bliss when I connected with Gurbani, when I recited Gurbani, when I submit to the word, the divine. So that's what it means here. So there are certain questions related to my pronunciation. So there might be instances where everyone makes mistakes. So I might be pronouncing certain words differently, either because of my understanding or because I'm not articulating them right. So we can ignore it, or we can basically take that discussion offline, and we can have the discussion at some other time. Okay, the next question, the only question I'm left with is, can you please help me understand law of attraction or faith in Sikhi? Would say that we have the choice to feel happy all the time. We are the ones that give ourselves anxiety and worry. I know that we do, but how do we understand our emotions and intuitions if everything is Guru? Rohini, Calgary. It's a very good question, a tricky one as well. Everyone has a choice, definitely. And we make those choices, conscious choices, either consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously, based on what kind of experience we are looking for. So I'm just speaking from, I don't want to sound judgmental here. I'm just speaking from a Sikh perspective based on what Guru has told us in the first two bodies, that the choice is clear. We sometimes get engaged with, temporary, basically we get taste, love, or some level of satisfaction or happiness from everything around us. It could be simply a dress. It could be something very exquisite, something very tasty, a dish, or it could be a relationship. If we are young, things what we relate to is a conjugal relationship, right? But but if I look at it from, I'm 40 years now, I'm married now, I have kids now. If I look back at my relationships, what one thing I notice and I actually find true is that my loves have kept changing. When I was young, my entire world was my parents because I needed my parents the most, whichever way you want to take it. But as I grew old, my interests changed. I went out of the house. I noticed parents aren't perfect based on my own convenience or what I observed. And I'm just talking about the typical human behavior, which is probably true for everyone. And we slowly start developing relationships outside. Even Gurbani talks about that. And when we come of age, when we, grow and we reach that age, we start looking for partners. Eventually, we develop relationships. Sometimes we get married, and then we have kids. I have kids, and as my life progresses, probably I'll reach a time where I will pass away or my wife will pass away. Then I'll have just my kids around me, and I'll start developing. That's when I'll repose all my faith, all my insecurities with them. And so you notice how this idea of attraction and love is very temporary. It keeps moving with, the world around us. The world around us really influences our choices of things, but we do have the choice. Once we become conscious of those, when Guru's wisdom comes in our life, that's when we realize that everything around us is temporary, and we have a choice of what kind of relationship we want to develop with things around us. Hopefully that answers the question.
Surendrapal, there are also some other questions coming in. I can actually just ask them if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So, Rupinder K, can you please explain again what it means by the divine will take care of all your affairs?
Karaj Savarna. There are two ways to interpret it. One of the simple most interpretation that I find in PK is that, if you engage with the divine, if you repose all your faith and hopes in the divine or in the Guru, your all your affairs, all the things that you need to take care of in your life, you will notice that they naturally on their own keep getting resolved. That's the idea that's promoted quite a bit in the different interpretations. And that's one of the things that I have in my personal life felt as well. But the other interpretation could be that if you are actually engaged with the Guru in a way where everything is in Sahaj, intuitively, you will ultimately develop a relationship with the Guru where your Guru becomes your first love or your love, only love. At that point, your worldly desires will vanish away. I'm just giving an ideal situation from a Sikh perspective. So I think the other meaning of that would be half of your hopes and desires, they basically die when your love for material things will break. I'm not advocating a very conservative line of lifestyle where I'm saying just give up everything. All I'm saying is that we need to be aware of what kind of relationship we want to develop with things around us. So when that bond of love and attraction breaks from the world around us, and we have truly developed that relationship with the Guru, and probably some of those aspirations that we have, that list of things that we want in life, probably most of those things will just disappear from that list once your priorities, once your love changes. So that's another way of looking at it, that once you start walking on that path of rediscovery, of discovering yourself, of finding that permanent happiness, Guru will take care of you and will take you to that ultimate state of bliss. So those are the two ways I interpret this idea of Kaj Sab Swan, all tasks taken care of, both worldly and your emotional, spiritual goals.
Also, if you shift from the published to the new, there are some new questions there. There's quite a few. If there's one perhaps that piques your interest, that would be great.
New, okay.
Yes.
How do you interpret Guru? How do you interpret Guru Sahib using mere to address Vahaguru as mother? It is deeper than analogy of a mother nurturing, caring, etc. Sure, one thing is, obviously, I agree with you. So, mere is very intimate. When you just keep saying mere, one thing is that you're showing that you are actually, you believe that there's some level of connection. The other thing is, it will be difficult to just say that Guru Sahib is using mother for Vahaguru and not for just the mother. But the idea here is definitely that it's more generic in nature, and it shows some level of intimacy, because two major relationships that are discussed in Gurbani is conjugal relationship and one of a parent and a child, more specifically mother and a child. So Guru Sahib is basically exploiting that idea, I would say, to show the level of intimacy, because you only confide in people you really trust, you really love, you're very close to. So I feel that's the kind of idea which is flowing out of this. That's why probably Guru Sahib is using the idea of mother, the mother here, to refer to whatever that is, either Wahguru or mother itself. All right. For a non-Punjabi, is it useful or possible to learn Gurbani word by word rather than sentence translation? I am learning Gurbani slowly, but don't know conversational Punjabi for Toronto. I would suggest that, first of all, one thing that we need to understand is that Gurbani is not Punjabi alone. Punjabi is one of the major languages used in Guru Granth Sahib. But however, when you if you want to learn Guru Granth Sahib, even if you're learning Punjabi, it will help you. It will raise your awareness or understanding of how the South Asian languages are structured. So conversational Punjabi will help you to a certain extent, because there's still certain vocabulary that is still used in modern Punjabi, which is used in Guru Granth Sahib as well. But that is not the only way. So while you do that, I would suggest that you also engage with Gurbani, but not worry too much about word by word, because you'll get lost if you try to do that. Try to find good resources on Guru Granth Sahib and try to read line by line. When you do that, that's the way I suggest people how to learn a language, because there are words that are recurring in a language, and there are words that are very difficult. So the best way to learn a language is to always pick those words. So when you go and read a language continuously, you'll notice that you don't stop at every word and look for that in the dictionary, because you can still understand, you can get a gist of things even if you don't understand all the words in a sentence. So what you do is you go about reading, continue reading it, and then only pick those words that interest you, or the ones that are recurring. Those are the words that will build your vocabulary, and that's how you will slowly pick up Gurbani. So always do line by line, and find a good resource, and then continue reading even if you don't understand it, and then pick words that are recurring, while you also brush up your Punjabi skills. That's how I would say you can probably increase your vocabulary and your Gurbani skills.
I'm just gonna make sure that we're staying within the time constraint. Perhaps this will be the last question. There's a question: what does living in awareness specifically mean? Can you please provide an example?
Once again, sorry.
What does living in awareness specifically mean? Can you please provide an example?
Sure. So the way I would look at it would be there's something in your knowledge, but it's not definitely something. There are things that you know probably, but you're not always constantly thinking about it. That's like your repository, which is in your mind, which you only take out when you need that information. But awareness is a state of your consciousness where you are always thinking about the thing, or it is in the back of your mind always. It's lingering, as we say in our modern language, something that's lingering, that's always on your mind. You're thinking about it constantly, when even if you're doing something else. So that's how I interpret awareness as opposed to knowledge. Hope that answers it. Any other question while I continue to go through them?
No, perhaps we could actually here stop. There's about 5 minutes left. I'm just going to do a little bit of a conclusion, if that's okay with you. If you have any closing statements, that would be okay as well.
No, that is fine. All I can say is thank you so much for taking time out to be a part of this session. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. I'm just going to share my slides now. So thank you to everyone for your questions, and apologies to those questions that were not addressed due to time constraints. Please note that a recording of this live class will be available within 24 hours. On behalf of Sikri, I thank Surinder Bal Singh and our e-Sangat today. Thank you all for tuning in and for spending this time with us. Please tune in next week for the second week of this live course. We are also hosting bi-weekly live webinars. Our next webinar is on Mother's Day, this Sunday, May 10th, titled Blessed Mothers, where we'll be engaging in conversation with Inni Kaur, Neelu Singh, Mandeep Kaur, and Sharanjit Kaur to discuss how Sikhi has informed their ideas of motherhood, their challenges, and their triumphs. And last but not least, please don't forget to tune into the Sikhcast, where we explore the various issues and events affecting Sikhs worldwide. Thank you for joining in today. Today's webinar will be ending now. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.